We are live.
Hello and welcome to Moreness-Culture. Good morning, Syl. Good morning, Rain. And good morning to all
Good.
of you guys who are watching us live and will watch us recorded there on YouTube and of course in the group, Sassy group. Please, if you are watching it, just to make sure that your presence will be counted, that please do leave a comment here or click like if you find some value. This is how we are greeting each other online. This is the way. This is the new society. This is the norms of this society, that show your presence, who you are, if you want to. Of course, there is no stress. Anyway, so my thought of the day. Today I somehow I just remembered that one of the guys here, you can, okay, in common words, in conventional way, he's been called as a wise guy, like really a wise person. But I would say that he was in the process of awareness, and he was keen and keenly forwarding on, moving on the path of awareness. And he shared his young age story. When he came to the city, he belongs to the rural areas, agricultural background, and he came to the city, a big city, to complete his education. He was in the university, and when he go back to his town or village, he thought, because before coming here, his father asked him to go and greet, like say goodbye properly, say goodbye to all of the village members, including a person who meant shoes, a cobbler, I guess. I don't know.
Yes, a cobbler.
Yes.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah.
And then he says that please go there, because people who work with their hands, they share a lot of wise or wisdom. They share a lot of wisdom. That was his father's thinking, and he says that. And he went there, and of course after that he went to the other city. And after a year, when he came back for vacations, he remembered that, and he says, okay, now I have learned something, so I'm going to impress that old guy who was a cobbler in the village, and I'm going to just impress him with my newly found information and knowledge and all that. And when he met him, he says, because there is a culture, we don't talk to elders without mentioning some relation to them. So this is my culture. And he says, uncle, uh, you know what? The fly, the house fly, normally, science has discovered that the fly, its eyes are, it can see 360-degree, because it has like countless lenses. He mentioned some numbers. Okay, I don't remember right now. That's why I'm saying that. Okay, so many numbers of lenses, and it can see everywhere. And the cobbler was just, yes, the cobbler was like, wow, this is very interesting. But what's the point? If a housefly still can see everywhere, but it still sits on something dirty.
Right.
And that guy says that I was a bit like, okay, oh my God, okay, now they're he's sharing something. But why I'm sharing is that awareness itself is useless. You are aware of it, but what you are you making a deliberate choice according to the awareness you have? This is the difference between just having awareness or being aware of everything and implementation. So what he was saying, okay, well, of course, the housefly story is something different, because we can have multiple perspective on it. Because for us, it is dirty, it is, okay, not clean and all that. But for the housefly, it's a different story. I'm not going into that detail. I'm just saying that what my takeaway was that awareness without being able to make deliberate choices, impeccable choices, it's useless. It has nothing, no value at all. You can have like, okay, oh, I have read thousands of books. Okay, I have maybe some people just have like, okay, coming information or wisdom coming like from generation to generation, or they have been learning from people. But if they are not implementing, there is no difference between a not learned person and them. No use. Implementation is the key in life. Implementation in, of course, in every possible way, but especially when making deliberate choices. If I am making a deliberate choices with keeping the impeccability in the forefront of my consciousness, I cannot be sure, at least I'm saying about myself, I cannot be sure that I'm impeccable or not, 100% or not, but I'm trying.
There
This
you
is,
go.
yes.
Yeah.
And this is
trying
what matters to
impeccably.
me. Yes, this is what matters to me. This is what
Yes.
really, really valuable for me.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe at some point, in my life, I could say that, okay, now I am. I always say, at least till now, I'm saying that, okay, I'm trying. I tried my best to be impeccable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Appropriateness, of course, is a different thing, but having a sense of, some sort of, some understanding of impeccability is really crucial. It's really crucial.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and being aware of it, that okay, I want to be impeccable. When I'm making any decision, our life is just actually making decisions.
Yeah.
It's everything is just making a decision or choice.
Exactly. Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly.
And it just overwhelms me sometimes, that how many choices really do we have to make in just single day.
Yes.
When I have to wake up, when I have to go to sleep, when I want to eat, when I want to walk, when I want to talk, and everything, and how I'm going to talk, everything. If you just keep tracking, start keeping track of your choices, of the choices we have to make in just one day, it will be overwhelming. But because we just go into that subconsciously doing things, and of course trying to be energy efficient in that way. So few things we can just keep it like, okay, yes, it can be like this, like, okay, moving my hands, I don't need to pay attention to that, okay, how I'm going to do that, okay, unless or until I am really making some deliberate changes into that. Otherwise it can be on autopilot. But what I'm going to say, it has to be deliberate. It has to be something about how I'm going to behave with others, how
And
I'm
your
going
intent must always be impeccable.
Oh, yes.
So, Beena, let me
Absolutely.
ask you, you said, I'm not sure if I'm impeccable, and this is a very fair perception, correct?
Yes.
I mean, that's a very fair thing to say, and you can't ever
Yes.
be sure.
Yes.
However, let me ask the question slightly differently. Beena,
Okay.
is your intent impeccable?
Yes.
100%. There's no doubt on
Yes.
that. There's no doubt
Yes.
on that.
Yes.
This makes all the difference. This makes all the difference, because I can't know how the application of my intent. This is, this is debatable, but I am still intending impeccably, always. Right? That intent to goodness, unquestioned. Right?
Absolutely.
So yes, I may. So now let's equate this in a more practical way. And I want to relate it and connect it to decision making. And for somebody who might stress about, I don't know if I'm making the right decision or not. Doesn't matter. Why? Let's assume that you've got to cross a large area of land, right? Wilderness or whatever, right? And you know which way you're going, more or less, right? And now, do you walk in an exact straight line from one end of this to the other? Let's say it's some big, large field, and I don't know, you maybe even got to go over the horizon. So you know more or less the direction that you're going into, yeah? There's no straight line. You've got to walk around boulders and trees and bushes and everything, yeah? So when you're making a decision of which way to go, you're going more or less. And some decisions will take you a little off the path. And maybe you've even got to make a detour and go back a little bit to get to a stream, and you can't cross, and you got to go back.
Yes.
My point is that each decision you make in crossing that space, some of them are going to be really accurate and others not. Does it matter? No. Why?
Yeah.
Because when you make a decision that's maybe slightly incorrect, the next decision is correct again and brings you back onto the path. And same with life. It doesn't matter if you make an incorrect decision, because your following decisions are going to be good and right. And overall, they put you on an appropriate path. See? That's what counts. Doesn't
Yes.
matter the little minor detours, even going backward temporarily. So what? Your intent is to get there. And if you see, oh, I made an incorrect decision, yeah, well, then you correct it. So what? It's a self-correcting mechanism. That's why the clarity of intent is important. In this analogy, the destination where you are going to, let's say you're going, from America, you're sailing across the ocean and you want to get to Europe or England, right? That's it. You want to get over there. When you get closer, you start to correct. And the closer you get, the more you correct. When you see the harbor, you correct. And then you get really close to the harbor, the channel, you get the pilot, the harbor, and they guide you in. See, so the closer you get, the more accurate the decisions. The further away, the more general. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, because you'll make many decisions. It's not just one. And even if you make completely the wrong decision, if you're paying attention and you're not arrogant to assume that your decision is correct, you're continually going to be checking. And you'll suddenly say, oh, yeah, well, no, I'm definitely going in the wrong way. Let me turn around. There you go. See? So not a problem, not a problem, not a problem. Yeah. All right. So this is brilliant. This is brilliant, right? And it's very encouraging to realize that when it comes to decision making, there is a self-correcting mechanism involved. Yes. So, of course, be careful about decisions which are committing you. Yes. Like,
Yes.
a decision to jump off a cliff. Yeah, you can go and climb back up again, but that takes a lot of effort and energy. So if you are going to make a decision that's kind of a one-way decision, then be absolutely careful. But this very seldom are things in such a way that there's no correcting them, right? It's just the way life is. Yeah. So take heart from this, that the decision-making process on the whole has
Yes.
built-in correcting to it. Yes, built-in course
Yes.
correction. Right, Beena?
Yes.
Isn't that just a good thought? Isn't that very comforting?
Exactly.
I love
Yes.
this. I love this. I love this.
Yes.
Actually, this is a good topic to write about. Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yes. Course correction. Course correction. Very good topic. Very good topic. Yes.
Yes.
Automatic course built in. And the key is the intent, because the magic of intent is it's not only up to us, right?
Hmm.
Intent brings the universe into things as well. Now, the universe won't do things for you. The universe
Hmm.
will never tell you what to do. It will suggest, hint, urge, prompt, stimulate, maybe give you a kick up the backside sometimes, but the universe generally assists you. It cannot do it for you. Yeah. It can't directly help. Why? Because that robs you of your choice to decide. And the universe cannot take away your freedom of choice. Cannot do this. No, this goes against everything that the universe is all about. The universe's intent is the enhancement and development of awareness. So the moment it makes a choice for you, well, then it goes against that intent. See, you've got to always decide. The universe will give you all the tools. It will give you all the hints and tips and suggestions and clues and cues, both, right? This is key to understand. So you always still have to decide, but sometimes it's kind of a duh. Doesn't matter that it's a duh. You still have to decide. That's always the key, right? And this is very important to understand. Very, very, very important to understand. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Very important to understand. And when we look at it in this way and understand how the universe works and realize that your intent is going to enlist the aid and assistance of the universe, you're never alone. in other words, right? So don't
Yes.
worry if you don't get it right. Don't worry if you don't get it right. Don't worry about it. Just do your best, and also be aware that your best may not be good enough. So constantly
Exactly.
be looking to improve your best. Yeah, it's very important. Sometimes we've got to update, we've got to upgrade, we got to
Yes.
step up. We got to raise our standards. Very,
Yes.
very, very important. Very, very, very important. All right. Il Sogno de Chiara. Hello, hello, hello. They've joined us on IG. So brilliant. Let us keep go back and continue on our journey through Carlos. We're nearly at the end of book 1. And I'm very happy that we are, because this structural analysis, it's like it's a bit tiresome. But all right, so be it, so be it, so be it. Let me check to see who's joined us. Norma said hi to you, and also says Norma. Hello, 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 Norma. I love it. I love it. Wonderful. I love when you say hello, Norma. It gives me great joy. I like to know you. Yeah, I like to know you. Yeah. All right, Beena?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
Norma.
There
And
we
hello,
go.
Joseph, I assume. And of course, I said hello to everyone. So, yes.
Yes. Yes. Very cool. Very cool. I shall screen share in a moment, and we shall continue. I love it. I love it. It's always a great joy to be here. Joseph says, intent is one key. Another, things are covering the thing here. Another is to treat every decision with a proper weight. Yes, that's due respect, and it's one of the core understandings, the core definition, the core criteria of intent. Impeccability. Sorry,
Yes.
impeccability is our core definition is the best use of energy. But we went a little further, and actually, let me pull that up. Actually, this is very powerful. Some wonderful magical person actually asked me one day. They said, well, I'll screen share and you'll see now. Yeah. So this is a very key point. Let's give it. There's no wrong, Norma. There's no wrong. Language, you're free to spell things whichever way you choose. Language is a true democracy. You can do what you like. And if it catches on, if it gets voted for, it becomes part of the language, right? That's voted for in terms of people using it. That's the equivalent of voting. If enough people use it, it becomes part of the language. As simple as that. Yeah? Look at Moreness. I'm using Moreness in my bubble. Yes, it's starting to catch on, but I don't care if it catches on. I'm free to make a language that's specific to me and what I do. Now, Moreness is a very easy term to understand what it is, because it's taking a known word and it's just adding a suffix to it, much like happy and happiness, right? The same thing. So it's not truly creating a very new word, but from a conceptual point of view, the way I have the moreness added to it and the philosophy behind it, it's a completely new and wonderful, awesome thing, right? Fantastic. So yeah, feel free. In other words, what I'm saying, Norma, feel free to use words whichever way you like. Where did my share go? Oh, here we go. Application. There we go. There we go. It's in my Biela series code file. But anyway, I put all sorts of things in here. Right. Extended understandings of impeccability. And the question I was asked by a very wonderful person, very earnest, sincere question. By the way, earnest, sincere questions are incredibly magical. Yeah, they're very magical. Is there such a way to give a mini explanation of the word impeccable or impeccableness? Yes. Impeccability is best use of energy. Impeccability is giving due respect. See, and that proper weight, right, Joseph? That's it's the same thing, just using the words here, due respect. Because respect, we have to be very careful. Respect has gotten subverted in the superiority paradigm, like you must respect your superiors. That's obedience. They want real respect. and they demand it because they don't deserve it. Yeah, but due respect is a very different thing. So, as you say, proper weight, due respect. Yeah, impeccability is uncompromising self-honesty. I love that, right, Beena?
Yes. Yes.
Uncompromising self-honesty. Impeccability is living with true integrity, right? No compromise. That's it. You cannot compromise your integrity. The moment you do, you're lost. Impeccability is making sure non-use of energy is not going to be a problem. Now we're getting into real nuance, sophistication of what impeccability is. We typically only look at our actions and determine whether or not our actions are appropriate or right or moral or good or etc. But we never look at our non-actions. Yeah. So a non-action is, what are you doing about the issue of your death, for instance? Oh, I never thought of this. That's some time in the future. Yeah. No, you got to take care of it now. You can't wait until whenever. You might die tomorrow. You have no idea, right? So just impeccability is, in other words, taking care of your non-actions as well. It's very important. So you look at the totality and make sure that I'm doing everything that I feel I need or want to do in terms of my spirit, my soul, my overall awareness, everything, right? No putting things off for later that are important. No, can't do that. Impeccability is being thorough, diligent, scrupulous, conscientious, etc. Doing your due diligence, doing your homework, doing your research, etc. Thorough, diligent, scrupulous, conscientious, etc. Very key, that one. Very key. They all are, I guess, but yeah, that's in terms of your daily application of impeccability. This is what counts, right? Doing things half-heartedly and all that. Now, sometimes mediocrity is the best use of energy. So we also have to understand that balance, which is where appropriateness comes into it, right? Impeccability is making sure one is unblameable, unfaultable by one's own conscience. That, you see, own is italicized there. Being unblameable and unfaultable according to me, to my own conscience, not anybody else. That's just covering your backside. That's superiority paradigm rubbish. You're not doing things because they're right. But when I do things where my own conscience, I'm unblameable, unfaultable by my own conscience, then I'm at peace and I'll never have any regrets, no matter how the thing turns out. Yes, I won't regret my decision. I might not like the consequence, but I'll never regret my decision. Yeah. But also, if we really understand impeccability, when things don't work out the way you thought, and it seems like it's the end of the world, you pay attention. They're always fortuitous mistakes. Why? Because you were impeccable. You did go to those ends. You were diligent and thorough, and you did go to a point where you were unblameable, etc. Right? Doesn't mean it turned out the way you wanted to. No, or at least the way you expected. Like when I got there to the desert and there was nothing. Yeah, I had no idea. I expected there'd be at least something there, right? No, but see, that was, I could have seen it as a calamity. Certainly the way those movers saw it. You sure you don't want to go back? Sure you don't want to go back? Sure you don't want to go back? We'll take you back free, no charge, whatever. Right? To them, it was the end of the world. It was calamity. But I knew that I was there because my decision making had been impeccable, and it was the right place to be. So I didn't even, have like, I was excited to be there because I knew that this was as a product of attunement. So there was no possibility of even seeing it as temporary calamity. No. Very, very powerful. Very, very powerful when we understand that, when you truly are in attunement and impeccable both at the same time, whatever happens is magical. The most incredible way to live. The most incredible way to live. Next one. Impeccability is acting so we cannot have any regrets. It's the same one as before, but it's coming at it from a different angle, right? acting so we cannot have any regrets. Now, I like to explain things in the same thing from a completely different perspective, because I understand how it is. Understanding is, one person will read that making sure one is unblameable, unfaultable ones, and they don't get it. But the next one, I get it now. It's just the way things work, right? It's very powerful, multiple perspective shifting, very, very, very powerful. Next one, impeccability is, no problem, Norma, never ever a problem, always good, always everything is as appropriate, and we trust in each other's appropriateness. This is what friendship is to me. I have a complete 100% trust in not only your sense of appropriateness, but your intent to goodness. This is unquestionable. Like I said with Beena, she has no idea of knowing whether she's always being impeccable, but she knows that when it comes to her intent, she's always impeccable.
Yes.
Right? Same here. Right? Same
Yes.
with you, Norma. Same with you, Joseph. I can't imagine that you guys will have bad intents. No, I don't think it's possible for you to have a truly bad intent. And I don't mean that you're irritated or annoyed or see some bad person on TV and you rail against them or something and maybe think bad thoughts. That's not the same as actually having an intent. Yeah, it's very different. All right. Impeccability is doing what's right according to our own conscience, acting in accordance with our conscience. This is very important. It's not doing what's right. That's what's right. When you say it that way, that's what's right according to society and convention and tradition and history and blah, blah. No, that stuff can be very wrong sometimes. Very, very wrong, right? I mean, you can grow up in cultures that are racist cultures, for instance, and you just do what's right, which is to be racist. No. Or misogynistic. Yeah, see? No. Almost all cultures. I don't know of any cultures unless they maternal cultures, right? But that's why I say almost all. Have just as a default, misogyny is a part of the culture. So to do what's right is to be misogynistic. You don't even realize it. Yeah. Or superiority. Okay, it might not be specifically misogynistic, but still, have all the superiority and stuff like that. Yeah. No. So doing what's right according to our own conscience, very important. Impeccability is doing everything we can and more to minimize foolishness. Isn't that what you do every day, Beena? You make an effort to minimize foolishness?
Yes.
Right. Look at the wording, though. The wording
Yes.
is not to making every effort we can to be sensible and to be
No.
wise and clever.
No.
No, to
No.
minimize foolishness. Very different logic, right?
Yes.
Impeccability is applying all necessary effort required. Necessary effort being a compound conception, right? When you have, yes, necessary effort. What is necessary effort? When you think, just ask this question, whatever I'm doing. So, am I applying necessary effort? It's a very easy answer. Most of the time you realize, no, right? Make necessary effort. My pleasure, Norma, my pleasure, Norma. And capital T trusting, Nobelia trusting impeccably when we've done all this, that things will turn out good. This is very important. This is very important. When you've done everything you can do, the last thing you can do, in other words, when you've been impeccable, you've applied all of those criteria, all of these points we've made. Yes. When you've applied them all, the last thing to do is to capital T trust that it will turn out good. Yes. And see, it's a compound conception as well. Things will turn out good. It's a compound concept. Things will turn out good. It's an understanding that will happen, right? And again, going back to my wonderful desert experience, things turned out really good, magical. I'm here because of it. Yeah, I got onto a whole different adventure. Right. Thus, acting and behaving and doing all we can. So doubt is never an issue. Doubt, when we are impeccable, doubt is a gift, not a curse. Yeah, for most people, they stress and and lament and doubt is a big deal for them, right? It's a negative. But when you're impeccable, doubt keeps you honest, doubt keeps you alert, doubt keeps you active. Doubt is really a mechanism for perspective shifting, right? And it just keeps you tight all the time, right? And it keeps you from being arrogant, for instance. So when we have doubt of that nature, that's why it's capitalized here. Yeah. Uh, well, it should be little d doubt there actually, but yeah. And then so the questioner asks, sort of unimpeachable. In a way, yes, exactly. Unimpeachable by our own conscience, yes. Smiley face, laughy face, heart. and there's a quote that goes with this. Conscience demands impeccability. Conscience demands impeccability. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Yeah. So yeah, intent and impeccability. That's why Joseph, when you said proper weight, yeah, that's impeccability. Every decision with proper weight. It's impeccability. And that's why it's way of impeccability, not way of intent or way of appropriateness or way of attunement, way of impeccability. Because impeccability is the glue. It is the key, the theme, the flow, the energy that ties it all together. When it comes to intent, you have to be impeccable. When it comes to attunement, you have to be impeccable. When it comes to appropriateness, you have to be impeccable. Appropriateness is impeccability. Yes? It all ties together. So yes, very key to understand this. But certainly when it comes to intent, I would assume that, well, not assume, but we can have unimpeccable intent. Yeah. But of course, if you are unimpeccable with your intents, you're really going to get it. You're really going to get it. It's going to come back and bite you very profoundly. So be very careful. Yeah. That's why clarity of intent is so important, because you're setting it, when you have an intent, you are in essence changing the entire world in some small way. You're getting the whole world to shift to accommodate you. Now, it's maybe not a minor shift, but very much doesn't matter. You're still changing. You're just making a change that affects potentially everything. So, of course, when you have a negative intent and all those little trickle down effects, and the mechanism shifts and changes, and you can't see it, but it might take a loop all the way around the world and come back at you. And nobody else notices this, but you do, right? It's like when you put a search into or do something on the internet, sometimes you see some result from it years later. Well, that's intent too. So be very careful with your intents, because intents come with unintended consequences very often, and particularly negative intents, right? You get what you don't expect, and they can really come back and bite you. So I hope that was useful there. But I liked your comment, Joseph. Very nice. See how just we come at this. So multiple perspectives is so important. You're saying the same thing, just in a different way. Yeah? But it's helpful when we have clarity of expression, clarity of understanding, because that assists us in having clarity of intent, that we can be very clear what we're doing. That's why way of impeccability, it's a way of living, way of being, way of pursuing, that way of doing, way of acting, yes, way of thinking, way of feeling, yeah, way of intending. That's why way of, right? Everything has to have impeccability to it. Everything has to have impeccability to it. Right, Beena?
Yes.
Oh, very cool. All right, let's continue reading Carlos's wonderfully academic study
Structural
over here.
analysis.
Yes, structural analysis. Yes, it's got to sound important. That's the key. The other thing I was thinking about this, we assume academics and experts, whatever, we assume that most of them know what they're doing. Not necessarily, right? Something like this comes along, right? His lecturers and whoever's involved in, overseeing this. This is something new and mind-boggling, not just to Carlos, but to them as well. So they have no real way of evaluating this. They don't know what it is. I mean, it's completely outside of their sphere, outside of all the. So for Carlos to share this, to achieve his objective, because this is his doctoral thesis, it's not about making what he's experienced understandable. No, it's about making it sound important. So that the person reading it who has no clue what it is, oh, but it must be important because it sounds important. That's all that's necessary. Okay, there you go. Thank you. You get your passing grade, whatever. We assume people, know what's going on and they can understand. But when you actually examine people in positions of authority or power, or they don't always know what's going on either. They're just kind of guessing and I don't really know, but all right, whatever. What the heck? It's astonishing. It's astonishing how we assume people know, but they don't know. Yeah, very powerful, very powerful. Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Very cool. All right, go ahead, Beena. The specific purpose of the rule. Oh, okay, we're getting
Yes,
to
today.
purpose now. We're getting to purpose
Yes,
now.
today.
Very good.
Today, will you please read, sir?
Sure. The specific purpose of the rule. The other component of the concept that the rule was verified in non-ordinary reality was the idea that the rule had a specific purpose. That purpose was the achievement by using an ally of a utilitarian goal. Holy moly. I mean, talk about now, just verbosity and fancy language. I mean, it sounds wonderful, but what does it say? Nothing. In the context of Don Juan's teachings, it was assumed that the rule was learned by corroborating it in ordinary and non-ordinary reality. The decisive facet of the teachings was, however, corroboration of the rule in the states of non-ordinary reality, and what was corroborated in the actions and elements perceived in non-ordinary reality was the specific purpose of the rule. That specific purpose dealt with the ally's power, that is, with the manipulation of an ally first as a vehicle and then as a helper. But Don Juan always treated each instance of the specific purpose of the rule as a single unit implicitly covering these two areas. This is all pure verbosity, mind-boggling, sounding fancy and wonderful and saying really nothing. It's fantastic, yeah. I mean, you do something and it's got a purpose. Well, like and the rule helps you achieve your purpose. You don't even really need to comment on this. It's like obvious, right? That's what the point of the rule is. It's to help you achieve your purpose.
Exactly.
Because the specific purpose referred to the manipulation of the allies' power, it had an inseparable sequel, the manipulatory techniques. Ooh, again, not saying anything, nothing. The manipulatory techniques were the actual procedures, the actual operations undertaken in each instance involving the manipulation of an ally's power. The idea that an ally was manipulatable warranted its usefulness in the achievement of pragmatic goals, and the manipulatory techniques were the procedures that supposedly rendered the ally usable. I mean, you're telling us what the technique is. You're telling us, you're just like completely stating the obvious here. But it sounds important, doesn't it, Beena? Doesn't it sound wonderfully important? It's brilliant. Specific purpose and manipulatory techniques formed a single unit which a sorcerer had to know exactly in order to command his ally with efficacy. Don Juan's teachings included the following specific purposes of the two allies' rules. I have arranged them here in the same order in which he presented them to me. The first specific purpose that was verified in non-ordinary reality was testing with the ally contained in the Datura inoxia. The manipulative technique was ingesting a potion made with a section of the root of the Datura plant. Ingesting that potion produced a shallow state of non-ordinary reality, which Don Juan used for testing me in order to determine whether or not, as a prospective apprentice, I had affinity with the ally contained in the plant. Ingesting is not the ideal word here. Because it was ingesting via the skin, not ingesting in the normal way we understand ingesting, right? To eat it, in other words. He didn't eat or drink this. The potion was supposed to produce either sensation of unspecified physical well-being or a feeling of great discomfort. Effects that Don Juan judged to be, respectively, a sign of affinity or the lack of it. Oh, and you'd think if you have great discomfort, then anyway. The second specific purpose was divination. It was also part of the rule of the ally contained in the Tura Inoxia. Don Juan considered divination to be a form of specialized movement on the assumption that a sorcerer was transported by the ally to a particular compartment of non-ordinary reality where he was capable of divining events that were otherwise unknown to him. The manipulatory technique of the second specific purpose was a process of ingestion absorption. There he says it now. He did drink. It's kind of a liquid thing. So that was ingested. All right. Here he's making the distinction now. All right, very good. Yeah, my bad. Sorry, Carlos. A potion made with the datura root was ingested, and an unguent made with the datura seeds was rubbed on the temporal and frontal areas of the head. I had used the term ingestion absorption because ingestion might have been aided by skin absorption in producing a state of non-ordinary reality, or skin absorption might have been aided by ingestion. Yeah. The manipulative technique required the utilization of other elements besides the datura plant. In this instance, 2 lizards. They were supposed to serve the sorcerer as instruments of movement, meaning here the peculiar perception of being in a particular realm in which one was capable of hearing a lizard talk and then of visualizing whatever it had said. Now, look at Carlos covering his backside here, in a sense, when he says supposedly, supposed to serve. They did serve that function for you. At least in your experience, your perceptual experience, this was your reality. Doesn't matter whether it was so in actuality or not, right? So they did do this function. Whether or not it was, in your language, like really, does it matter? It worked, yeah. But he doesn't want to commit there. He doesn't want to say, I experienced them doing this. No, supposed to, right? It's weak. It's wimpy, Carlos. It's wimpy. Anyway. They were supposed to serve the sorcerer as instruments of movement, meaning here the peculiar perception of being in a particular realm in which one was capable of hearing a lizard talk and then of visualizing whatever it had said. Don Juan explained such phenomena as the lizards answering the questions that had been posed for divination. The third specific purpose of the rule of the ally contained in the datura plants dealt with another specialized form of movement, bodily flight. As Don Juan explained, a sorcerer using this ally was capable of flying bodily over enormous distances. The bodily flight was the sorcerer's capacity to move through non-ordinary reality and then to return at will to ordinary reality. So really, in more modern language, in the language of physics, the manipulation of time and space. Very simple. Yeah? And when we look at physics, which says there is no time, everything is happening in the moment. Right? And same thing with space. It's not flat and linear and the way we think three-dimensional. It exists all in a singularity as well, really. So the ability, when you think of it that way, the ability to go and it's there. We just live in a situation where we've flattened out and linearized reality. That's for our convenience, but that's not the actuality. So of course there are, or likely, when you look at physics, there are ways to go and connect to things because it's all there in the present, it's all there by us. It's just a matter of connecting to it, right? And when you add in intent into all of this, then you say that's the key. You're finding a mechanism that allows you to manipulate energy. And when you're manipulating energy, you can now make these connectivities that you don't otherwise do, right? So it's very powerful. Very powerful. Joseph says, traditional native culture has many rules. Yes. Some come from times, hundreds or even thousands of times before we live now. Yes. All cultures have this. We no longer know the purpose of the rule. Exactly. And this is why I'm very, very cautious when it comes to tradition and culture. Yeah, because they have rules that came about long ago that don't apply anymore. But if you give tradition and rules, if you give them an undue authority and power, then you end up doing things that no longer are relevant. Now, we no longer know the purpose of the rule, says Joseph, although sometimes we do, or at least we can make a good guess. For example, a rule, don't hunt if your wife is pregnant, or don't imitate an owl. or smear the first saguaro fruit you gather for the year on your bare chest, heart area. Yes, yeah. And we assume also in tradition that the rules were sensible at the time. This is a very, very grave assumption. They are typically sensible according to the time, but not always. Just look at people around you today and watch when they make up rules. And you'll see sometimes it's based on absolute no reason at all. It's completely nonsensical. So I'm very, very cautious, and especially with BMNs, right? People who that narcissism of wanting to be in power and seem important. Sometimes they'll make up a rule just for that reason, to be important, and it just they pull it out of their hats or their backsides or wherever, right? And their motivation is to be important, not to make a rule that makes sense. Yeah. So we can end up with the most ridiculous of rules for no reason at all. Yeah, I mean, and that rule of not going hunting when you're pregnant, maybe the woman just didn't want to be alone and she wanted to get her husband out of hunting duty. And so she makes up this rule. She's got some influence and she gets the other wives to agree to it. And all right, they'll say, oh, this is a great rule. There's no practical value to it except just, oh, well, all right, it's comfort. Or the hunter may even have made it up and said, well, I want to stay with my wife while she's pregnant. I want to get out of hunting duty. It's a reason to escape because hunting is effort, it's work. It's, it's stressful, dangerous. When you hunting back in the day now, right? Modern hunting is a lot easier, but still. Yeah, good point, Joseph. Yeah, it's important to, but so that's why for me, this whole thing, when you start talking about rules, sorry, appropriateness is the only rule as far as I'm concerned. End of story. That's it. Whenever you take appropriateness as your rule, you are gauging and determining things in their own context and according to the goals and motivations that apply now. That's it. Very simple. So appropriateness is always depends. Yeah, it's no hard and fast. And that's a fantastic rule. Well, it depends. Again, yes, you have this rule of not hunting when your wife is pregnant. Well, what if I'm the only hunter left and everybody's starving and my wife is pregnant? See, now the rule, obviously, well, in that case, you have to go. See, appropriateness. Appropriateness overrides all of the other things. Rules are trying to say, in this exact situation, behave this way. And it's a foolish endeavor because it never works. There are always exceptions to every rule. I mean, that's a rule, that there's always an exception, right? That's where appropriateness comes into it. Appropriateness always takes care of the exceptions. And when it's, well, if that's the appropriate thing to do, you do it. If it's every time you do this, well, fine. Doesn't matter. But when you do get to that exception, you are able, because you're always behaving out of appropriateness as your rule, then you're able to adjust, right? Because, there's the expression, 99 times out of 100. Yeah, it's all good 99 times out of 100, but it's the 100th time that kills you. If you don't have that appropriateness in your mind, you do the 100th time, you do it exactly the same way and you get killed. So what happens all the time. 99 times out of 100, it's okay to not pay attention while driving. Keep going. Sooner or later, that 100 times going to come along and you're not paying attention and you're not able to adjust and you get killed. I when I came to this country, one of the things that really, really fascinated me was crosswalks. How people cross crosswalks. They just walk. They just walk. They don't look left, right. They just walk. Not even briskly, just casually. It's like they're walking on the sidewalk and then there's a crosswalk and they just turn and go across. And you can see they're in a complete bubble. They're completely unaware of the traffic and everything. Because to them, the rule is that traffic must stop at the crosswalk. So that means they're safe. It fascinates me, this absolute arrogance of this. What if somebody's not paying attention or somebody's drunk or high or whatever? Please, people, look up how many people get run over in a crosswalk. Yeah, don't look up those statistics. Plenty. Yeah. See, you can't
Yes.
trust. In other words, the rule in this case, it's ridiculous that you're not looking there. You're taking your life into your own hands. Yeah. The hunting rule is because animals have or are a spirit. Spirits can cause defects or problems with unborn if not respected properly. If you don't hunt, you won't mistakenly disrespect an animal spirit. Yes. Yes. This is it's a great point you make here, Joseph, because whenever we look at things, we have to look at criteria, culture, perception, awareness. That's not part of your awareness, right? Like with a crosswalk, the same thing. You're assuming that people are rule abiding. And yes, in general they are, but not always. And the same way in this kind, the rule is coming because there's an external criteria involved. So, the key is, of course, when you're making a rule like that, rather make an abstract overview rule to say, always be respectful. There you go. Life is easy, which is, again, be impeccable and always be appropriate. If you're being appropriate, you're not inadvertently going to be disrespectful. Yes. So I'm just saying rules are, they attempting to show us how to behave, but there's a simpler way of how to behave. Be appropriate, be impeccable. That's it. It covers everything. Whereas the rules don't cover everything because they don't cover the exceptions, like the crosswalk rule. Yes. Or like I said, with the hunting rule. Well, if you're the only hunter and left, for who knows whatever reason, the other hunters got lost or something, and well, it's up to you now. And you have to now break the rule because appropriateness that forces you to. Yeah. And I've seen where people cannot break rules and they end up in such deep trouble because they can't break rules that are no longer applicable, that don't apply, that are foolish and silly in the specific change of circumstance, right? It's a sad deal. So important to understand. I would bet there are many rules in Pakistani culture. All cultures have rules. Yeah, not specifically Pakistani, but all rules. What do you say about rules in Pakistani culture specifically, Beena?
Okay, it varies exactly like in any other culture.
Yeah,
Uh, People have their own personal culture, of course, a religious culture we
yeah,
have, and some influence because relatively, of course, we are a new country, new nation. So we do have influence of different culture from religious side, Arab culture, and the subcontinent culture, of course, because we were living together uh, in India. So that is also very influence. But about rules, um,
yeah,
this is interesting because we do have a very interesting way of dealing it because Pakistan is interestingly uh, is a mix of different ethnicities
yeah,
and different countries have. But because of the internet and the availability of internet so easily, um,
yeah,
when other nations were practicing and trying to come out of that superiority paradigm, we just born, and then of course then we had like internet, which at the time we might choose, and it would be really established in our culture. We start getting into a different perspective from internet. Oh,
right,
people are awakening now and they're
right,
sharing.
right,
So
right,
before
right, right.
getting completely indulged into or get trapped into the superiority paradigm mindset and rules and regulations, luckily, of course, this is the positive side I'm sharing. Of course, it has some
Yeah,
consequences, not so desirable, but we get out of it. So now people are learning. We have generation still, we do have generations who witnessed the partition, and then after that, a very modern Pakistan, where the generations like
yeah,
just before my parents, or maybe my parents also witnessed that. I'm not sure, but okay, that type of thing where it was very modern culture. very open. And then the religious influence and the mid generation was is still very influenced by, they have very strict thing. And then now the Gen Z culture is coming in Pakistan, and people are talking about things and changing things. So we are in the constantly, we are in process, because in nations life, centuries are just like a year, and we haven't even finished a year yet. So Pakistani culture is very interesting, very mix of so many things.
Right. For me, what I find inordinately valuable is abstract perspective. In other words, when you look at any culture, and you look at not the specific applications, but the abstract. Are people being eager? Are they being greedy? Are they being childish? Are they being self-centered? Are they being short-sighted? This is so in all cultures, right? And when you look at
Yes.
things from this, culture disappears, and you see sentient culture. We
Oh,
do the same
yes.
things, right? We make the same assumptions. We have the same motivations to a large extent, and et cetera, et cetera. And when you understand people and psychology and behavior via motivation, we start to come to it, right? And when you really go all the way and you see that intent to goodness, which is common everywhere we go, right? Even when people do supposedly bad things in their mind, to them, this is what's good for them. It may be a very short-sighted good, yeah, but they're still trying to do good in some way, even though it may be absolutely horribly distorted and messed up. It's still a basic intent to goodness. When you understand this, then everything, then the individuality of this and that culture, that's just like it's like trying to understand people by what they wear. Clothing is just surface. It doesn't make any difference to really who you are, right? Or just by the hair that they have. Never mind the hairstyle, just the hair that they have. It's a superfluous thing. It doesn't really make any difference to who you are, right? And when we look at culture in that sense, then we see it in a whole different way. Because like I've said before, doctors all around the world, they're motivated by service and helping people. At least, there are some that are motivated by status and importance, but a real doctor, right? Not somebody who's been a doctor because they want to be important, yeah, or whatever, have money or something like that, who are in it for doctoring. Or farmers, or same thing, who are there because they love to grow things, or whatever. When you look at it in that sense, they're the same all over the world. Doesn't matter whether it's a Pakistani or a Apache doctor. What's the difference? Or farmer, they're the same thing. So when we see the similarities from the abstract point of view, everybody becomes the same pretty much. Yeah? And we understand the motivation, the intent, and we understand also that our abilities of how we apply those motivations, they are limited by our awareness. And when we see the limitations of awareness, then we also understand humanity in a very different way, and we see where people are at. It's a wonderful way of looking at things, for me at least, because when you, especially from a Moreness culture perspective, when you go all the way past all the surface stuff and you get to the root intent, which is that intent to goodness. Wow. Okay. All right. You really, applying your intent to goodness in a very distorted, very messed up way. But that's unawareness again. You get caught up in bubbles of unawareness and you end up being ridiculously foolish or even bad, criminal, but that doesn't change the underlying logic. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. All right, let's read this last section and then we'll leave off for today. Well, right, we can leave it tomorrow. Yeah,
Okay.
because it comes in with a few more things. Again, all of the stuff, it's like, hey, it's tiresome to read, really, but we'll get through it. Maybe what I'll do is I'll skim through it and we can just. Yeah, all right. We'll read through it. It's not that much. All right, we'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just the universe making us pay our dues, I think. Yeah. Uh, uh, Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
So
Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Norma. Yeah, it's very cool. I love this, Joseph, bringing of different perspectives to bear. It helps us to understand. And that's the key. Multiple perspectives. Their value lies in seeing the greater whole. And that's what I'm saying when I talk about abstract perspective. When you start to tap into abstract perspective, you're starting to make the effort to look at that greater whole as a start, right? Rather than, in other words, we want to get to a leaf by looking at tree, rather than starting at the leaf and trying to get to tree. When you start at leaf, you can get lost in leafness. And, a leaf is a whole world in itself in terms of your awareness, your bubble. And to go from one leaf to another leaf, you could be, wow, I'm in a whole other world here, not realizing that you are part of this massive, bigger moreness. And that's what happens in life. We get caught up in our little tiny bubbles, thinking this is the all. Abstract thinking is a fantastic way to counteract this tendency for us to get consumed inside our bubbles. Specificness, right? And cultures, all cultures are bubbles, really. Yeah, when you look at it in the greater context of awareness and growth and bigger intent, all cultures are bubbles. Yeah. I try to transcend bubbles. It's very helpful. Very helpful. See the bigger picture. See the bigger picture. Come from overview perspective. Come from universal perspective. Look at the overall abstract conceptionality. See the similarities all over. Be universal. Yeah, I try not to be too specific in things because you can get lost in that, right? Very easily. And it's a problem culturally. People get really stuck in their cultures, and as a result, they get so limited, right? And they never know that there's more available to them, and that's really sad to me. And misguided loyalty to their culture. It's very sad when you end up in a bubble limited awareness because you are looking to be specific to your particular culture. Yeah, no, that's no good. It's no good. No good. No good from an awareness point of view, right? When you're looking to really take your awareness to more. Yeah, make sense?
yes.
Yeah, very good. Dushkatari, and Lubna. They've joined us. Hello, wonderful people. Hello, hello, hello. Dushkatari did say hi. Thank you, Dushkatari. Hi, hi, hi. Hi, hi, hi. Now, let me type hi there. Very cool, very cool, very cool, very cool. I love it, I love it, I love it. Beena, any comments?
Okay. No, we are just ending and wrapping it up for today. Soon we will be in at the end of book one, and then we will start book two, which is Syl was sharing with me that and saying that okay, he's really excited about and keen to start
Oh,
actually
yeah.
book two because he
Oh,
says
yeah.
that okay, there is the
Oh,
real stuff
oh, yeah.
and exciting
Oh, yeah.
stuff. So yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
This is also again appropriateness and being thorough.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though when things might not making like okay, oh, it's unnecessary, okay, it's just diverting, taking detour, and okay, extra stuff is coming, but still to know someone you have to persist, and to find the value we have to persist, and this is what we were doing. Syl was sharing with me
Yeah.
even before
Yeah.
that like okay, the real stuff is in there, but we didn't skip the book one.
Yeah.
Again
Yeah.
giving due respect, and also in any relationship, again our intent, very basic, very clear intent that we want to connect with Don Juan, and we
Yeah.
want to perceive his energy, and also that this is the to understand the basic intent of Don Juan. Mediums can vary, of course, the ways can vary, but the intent stays the same. And this is what we want to, this is what we are after.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, soon we will start this, but of course, we are going to finish book one, and then we will start a new journey. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And whoever is going to watch us recorded, please do click like and subscribe to this channel, because by doing so, you're going to train your online algorithm that this is the kind of
Very important.
stuff and content I want more in my life,
Yes.
which is ultimately going to affect your life in general, because
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
nutritional value you're providing to your soul.
There you go. There you go. Your attention
Yes.
brings nutritional value for your soul.
Yes. Yes. And we have to
Brilliant.
be very mindful about it. And we are.
Yeah.
So thank you
Yeah.
so much, everyone, for
Yeah.
joining us. See you guys tomorrow.
Yes. See you all tomorrow. Bye
Yes.
bye. Bye bye. Bye bye,
Bye.
Joseph. Bye bye, Norma. Love it. Love it. Love it. Bye bye, everybody
Yes.
else too. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
End.